Hi, everyone. This is Mona, and we are here today to talk about PMDD and relationships with Aaron Kinghorn, Super Aaron Kinghorn, the author of Hope, a guide to PMDD for partners and caregivers. Aaron has been married to Jude for over 20 years, is a father of four, and serves on the board of directors for the International Association for Premenstrual Disorders. He's been hosting a monthly video peer support group for partners for over 4 years, bringing unmatched insights into navigating the relationship dynamics around PMDD. Aaron, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Mona. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's great to kind of help support in many respects the good work that Bell Health is doing as well. I'm really excited to see the developments that are taking place with the app, and I keep seeing it pop up on the forums quite a bit as well. It's definitely getting out there, and people seem to really love it. So that's great. That's great, and yeah, lovely to chat with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's jump right into the book. Can we?
Yeah, go. Let's go
Yeah,
for it. Let's go for it.
let's go. So I'm really curious about the moment of realization, like when you realized that PMDD was impacting your relationship
Yeah.
and what led you to take action.
So there was really a light bulb moment for us. There really was. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But I guess really, w- we knew that something was going on and we just
Mhm,
didn't know what. Um, and really, from the very beginning of our relationship,
mhm,
PMDD had always been there in many respects. And so I just found it really confusing. I really didn't understand what was going on, and sometimes I would, I would think, is this depression? Is there an element of bipolar? Or and all I knew is that we would sometimes be dealing with almost two versions of my lovely wife Jude, and that there would be periods of real kind of depression, anxiety, some really heavy feelings, and some really dark moments. And I just found it confusing because my wife inherently is a very kind of positive. She's a lovely person. She is, everything I'd hope to have in a partner. And seeing, the contrast between when she was really experiencing these episodes, it was just confusing, and you know, so um, so that was probably we got married in 2004, but it wasn't until about 2007. And Jude was watching this TV program, and those in the UK might know the TV program. It's called Loose Women, and it's a proper daytime television show. And then you've got this panel of women, and they're just chatting. They're just chatting, as friends do. Um, and one of them mentioned that they experienced symptoms or mood changes prior to their period arriving. Now, this was a foreign concept to my wife. Now, what you've got to remember is that, my wife had 4 years of nursing training. I'd had 5 years at dental school, and albeit, we don't spend a long time talking about menstruation at dental school, but we do spend a long time talking about physiology, cell biology, anatomy, all these kind of things, even modules on psychiatry and psychology. But this concept was completely foreign to both Jude and me. And so she mentioned she'd been watching this, and she mentioned it to me. And I remember her mentioning it to me, and then she went out. She went out somewhere, and I can't remember where. And I straight away went on the internet and started looking. And there was nothing on the internet, it seemed to be, in 2007. But being of a medical background, I went on PubMed, which is where all the research articles go. And I started seeing things about severe PMS, about kind of late luteal disorder and PMDD. And from there we started tracking, and it was revelatory. It was so cyclical, and it was so it was a real paradigm shift for us. It changed everything about the way we were viewing, because it was like clockwork. Um, and from there, that was really our light bulb moment when we when we really kind of discovered that. I felt like Neo in the Matrix, where where suddenly I could see the code of what was happening, and Jude could too. And really, I think that you know it felt like the real beginning of the journey then of understanding what this condition was and how we were to manage it together.
Well, it's impressive. As I told you, I already talked with Shaleen Gutba, and I mentioned that it is amazing that it's 2025. We see these amazing advancements in technology, AI, and so on, and such lack of understanding of female biology. Like it's impressive. Like you go search online and you have nothing. Like not today. Like today things are getting a little bit better. We are working a lot for that, right? But
Yeah.
it is amazing to me, like
Mm.
this scenario that we face.
I mean, I've definitely seen I'd probably say the last 3 years, I've seen a massive change, a massive change. I remember, um, even once, and it was a few years back, we saw the BBC reported on something to do with PMDD, and both me and Jude were like, "Whoa, can't believe this! Wow, wow, and so it's moved beyond that now, and where we have some different celebrities are talking openly about it, and definitely I think what's nice is that we are riding on that wave of people being able to talk about mental health more, and because of that, there's two stigmas, isn't there, with PMDD? There's the mental health stigma, but then there's also the menstruation stigma as well. And I think as we battle down that kind of mental health stigma, it opens our way to really talk about PMDD more openly and to see it for what it is, and to treat it for what it is. So I think there's you know PMDD is so difficult for people and so and can be really debilitating for people. And I think that there's an exciting, I don't know if exciting is the right word, but there's definitely more positive prospects that when we can talk about it openly and really deal with what we're looking at rather than just pretending or overlooking or suppressing even.
Absolutely. Um, I was reading your book and I remember something that I read in Myth of Normal.
Mhm.
And in this book, Dr. Gabor Mate talks about a tribe that honors its sick members, seeing in their illness as a sign of a community's hidden issues, like somebody embodying the whole problem that the community faces. And it sounds a lot like your take on PMDD for me, like that this is not just a personal problem or something that this person have to face alone, but uh, a whole community thing. So, uh, how does having or not having support from loved ones can change the experience of living with PMDD?
Do you mean in the sense of support for those with PMDD or more support for the partners?
Both.
Both, yeah. Well, I think no one lives in isolation, do they? And I think we even with without any health conditions, but when we're looking at something like PMDD, I think that the profound effect of PMDD permeates so many aspects of someone's life. It permeates their occupation, it permeates their education. But what I found really interesting, and primarily because it's had the most impact and interaction with me, is more on relationships, and how it interacted with our relationship. And I certainly think that if for those who have PMDD, if they have a supportive partner who really understands PMDD, it makes a massive, massive difference. And I know that because I think I've been both partners. I think I've been an unsupportive partner. I've been someone who perhaps didn't get it, or perhaps was a little bit judgmental. But I've also been on a personal journey to really understand what PMDD is and how it affects someone. And I've seen the difference that makes. And I've also seen the difference that actually understanding what PMDD is makes on me. There's that kind of phrase, isn't there? First seek to understand, then seek to be understood. And I think when someone really makes that effort to understand what PMDD is, it opens the door for them to be understood with their own difficulties. And so both parties are really kind of feel a bit more supported by each other. And that's the difficulty, isn't it? We've got one party who needs a lot of support, and then we've got a second party that often needs support too, and dealing with the different issues there. And I remember coming across an article once, and in that article it said, about how partners will often provide a lot of support to their partners with PMDD, but who is supporting the partners? And it really struck a chord with me, because I recognise that for so many, and me included, it's a very private experience. It happens in the home, and relationship issues, they're not something you just go out and, talk about. And so I think there's a lot of people who really struggle silently with this, both with PMDD and both partners. And I recognise the impact on me, and that's why I wanted to kind of I wanted to have a record of some of the things that I'd learned, so I'd be able to pass that on. I've got two daughters, and I've got two sons, and I was able to present one of them with the book and say, "Look, have a little read," and that was a really amazing experience to talk with one of my kids. But to be able to hand something over and say, "Look, here's something that can help you understand a little bit more about the condition." So yeah.
I have a quote here from you that says, "This book is what I wish someone had given me 20 years ago when I married the love of my life. It's a letter to myself."
Yeah.
And based on this quote, I ask, I think that would be lots of things, but the most important thing that every partner or caregiver should know that might have been a difference for you back then?
I think that the first thing is to really believe your partner. Is to really believe. And I think if I was to go back, then that would be the first place I'd start off. Just an absolute kind of belief in everything that my wife was saying. I think it's easy to take your own glasses and put them on someone else. And, this works for me. But actually, when someone's dealing with a chronic condition like PMDD, and they're a different human and with a different mind and a different outlook, that it doesn't work like that. And with things like some of the fatigue, I will admit initially I thought, well, why can't you just get up and just go and do things the way I did? And when I look back now, I find that really embarrassing, because I recognise now that for her, sometimes getting out of bed or doing things that I found really easy would have taken so much, was almost kind of superhuman. And actually, she was performing at a higher level than anyone else, but might not be publicly achieving as much. And that's the thing. A lot of PMDD sufferers are struggling, and it's hidden. It's a hidden disability for the most part. People don't really quite understand. So I think I was go back, I'd believe, and then I'd start to understand and really get my head around it, and just ask so many questions, try to really get in the headspace of what Jude was experiencing quicker. And I think that would be the big thing, because when you really understand what's going on, you naturally have more empathy. You can separate it out in the condition from your relationship, and you recognize that what are relationship issues and what's PMDD. It means you can better advocate together in healthcare. It means that it removes the blame and the shame as well, because that's a big part of it as well. And I think those who have PMDD, they are constantly beating themselves up about things that might have happened or things that they might have said on there, when you know when a lot of the things that happen um, can be really exacerbated and invoked by some of the strong dysphoria that goes with PMDD. Yeah, I think those are the main things. And then I think the third thing is just the importance of medical treatment, um, of getting a good doctor. And I know access to healthcare is so difficult all around the world, but having a medical professional who's going to engage with this, and I see this in the support groups as well, that is the most impactful thing is those who are undergoing treatment. It improves the life of those who have PMDD and those who are supporting them or caring for them. I think those be. But there's loads, Mona. Honestly, I could go on for ages. Yeah, I can. There are so many. There are so
I
many
would love.
things. I mean, and I know it's the same for everyone. If they could go back in time. So, but yeah, I think that would be my main thing. And to really start from that point of compassion, and really start listening. Yeah.
Wonderful. And I'm glad that you brought that up, like the part of treatment, because it touches also research and all the science behind PMDD and all that knowledge and understanding can make a difference, like in everything and in treatments. Because I have here another quote from you from the chapter "Scale of Change." You already mentioned that, but I thought that this part was so moving. Like, the most profound effect of PMDD is the drastic change it induces during the luteal phase. You can feel like interacting with a completely different person, as mood, outlook, values, ideals, and priorities can shift dramatically. And I was reading that and seeing, like, one of the hardest parts must be this not knowing where this is coming from. So you start thinking things like, oh, I don't know, my partner is crazy, or she doesn't love me anymore, like, just, I don't know, she's bipolar, like this not knowing. And we had a request from our community, like in the same path, like I won't share her name, but she says, my husband has no understanding of depression, let alone PMDD. If Erin could explain it scientifically and give practical steps for partners, what they could do, it would be amazing. And I add to that, like, I said all this to ask, like, how research, education, like understanding all the science behind changes everything, like not just for patients, but also for partners, for everyone that is around.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really hard. It must be a nightmare for those who have PMDD and have a partner who doesn't really get it. It must be really, really difficult. Um, and I think especially those who might not have experienced mental health issues before, it's a big jump for them to make. And and I think sometimes it's difficult because I think Jude was patient with me, in my understanding. And I think we've got to be patient with people who don't quite see eye to eye. Otherwise, it just escalates and there's more barriers put up. Um, but, at its fundamental level, PMDD is a sensitivity to hormonal changes that happen every month. And, as you said in that quote, that there's such a profound shift that can happen. It can be dealing with a different person. It's a completely change in weather altogether. Um, you're on the same planet, but it's a different weather system. And, you know, one of the things that will help partners really identify that is tracking. And tracking is such the key, because then you start to kind of match behaviors with the cycle. And that really starts to open the doors to understanding and seeing the profile and how that works. And, you know, and that's why I really, advocate tracking together. We used to put it on a Google Calendar together, but I know in time, hopefully there's more technology out there. I know Bell Health are working with that as well, to really involve the partners so they can be part of this process. Because it's not just that we're simply partners. We're not just simply kind of even advocates, but we are stakeholders in this process. We live together, we buy our food together, we have hopes and dreams and aspirations together, and so we want to work together. And I think tracking the cycle is so key to really kind of helping each other understand what's happening, because it always takes us by surprise. It always took us by surprise, the luteal phase. And normally the key was my jokes wouldn't be funny. I'd say a joke, and the response I'd get, it was kind of, I felt a little disproportionate, um, and and so that was a sign. But I think if both parties are anticipating and planning, it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. But aside from the kind of impact on those in a PMDD relationship, I think PMDD, stepping outside as someone who's got a bit of a scientific background, it's a fascinating medical enigma. It really is, really perplexing, and so we don't understand much about it. We don't have much research about it, but we need a lot more. We need a lot more. And so I'm excited to see that there's more research being done, but we've got so much to catch up on. We've got so much to catch up on, and also as the research happens, it helps inform public policy. It helps politicians and healthcare leaders. It helps them make decisions based on evidence. And I think there is a lot of misinformation as a space. I love seeing the PMDD space grow. It's fantastic, but I do worry sometimes that it is being filled sometimes with some misinformation, and some guidance that sometimes isn't helpful as well. So I really welcome more research and more evidence to really help us to know how best to treat PMDD, but also how to live alongside it, and how to talk about it as well.
The thing is how much we need research, how much we need information, how much we need data. Because the thing is, we're dealing with something that it's actually a mystery, and this is awful for the person that is suffering from that condition and everyone around, because you don't know what you're dealing with, right?
Yeah, and it's also important to wipe out those old stigmas as well.
Exactly.
I remember coming across an article, and this was many years ago, and and it said, "Is PMDD even real?" And I was enraged. I was like, "I wish you could come into my life and see how this works. How much change can place, and how we can track it." And my wife would say that even sometimes I could tell better than her tracking where she was in a menstrual cycle, because we were both aware of it, and we knew what the profile of symptoms would be along the way. So yeah, definitely more research needed. Yeah.
And also, I think, and that's why I'm so happy to be here with you today, like being able to talk about this openly and give PMDD and female chronic health conditions existence, like when you see something like, is it really real? Like, this is actually real, and that you in your personal life is facing it. This is awful, because invalidate your experience, like, so when we actually bring this to the center of the debate and talk openly about it, and validate those experiences, and like fight for
Yeah.
this
Well, it,
advancements, like, it's For me, it changes changes everything.
It's funny as well. I mean, for me, obviously, I'm a man. I've lived my life as a man. Um, I think I was lucky to have three sisters as well, who really kind of, I don't know, helped me get used to perhaps, you know, having three systems, you can't kind of, shy away from menstrual health at all. It's there. But I think as a man, I feel a real guest in this space, and um, I really feel welcomed actually, because I know that for many women, they have experienced misogyny, either from the medical profession or in relationships, and so I'm mindful that I am a bit of a guest in this space, and I'm really thankful for the way that not only the book has been received, but also just some of the feedback that I've had on the book, and the message really of supporting. So um, yeah, I think if I think men need to be more involved, basically, in the whole kind of topic of women's health, because I think it's men are the reasons why we haven't got as much research as we should. Men are the reason, in many respects, why why we're not as far ahead as we should be, if we go back. But I think that's changing, and I hope it's changing.
Yes. Um, and how how do you strike a balance between supporting your partner and maintaining your own emotional well-being? How that happens?
Yeah, I think that was a real struggle for me. I think that was a real struggle for me, and I think that's one of those things that I think I would have done better if I'd gone back. Um, I think it's easy as well because PMDD can be so all-consuming that as an individual you can. It's like the gas laws. The more space you allow, the more it can fill in some ways. And I think as a partner, you're a romantic partner, but sometimes you take on the role of a caregiver as well, both physically and emotionally. Physically, you have to do more, like so much more in every aspect of, maintaining the house or looking after the kids and doing so many different things, but also emotionally providing that support as well, that shoulder to cry on sometimes. And I think I don't think I quite struck the balance quite right, if I look back retrospectively. But I think the way you do provide that balance is to try and put in healthy boundaries in place. To put space where you can rejuvenate, to maintain hobbies and friendships, to really find something that you're passionate about, and have that thing, to have that thing where you can go to. But also as well, I think to really celebrate those times together when things are good. So in the follicular phase where, and actually I think that a lot of people concentrate on the luteal phase. They concentrate on the, perhaps the irritability, the anger or the rage, and how do we deal with it in those kind of situations. But I think a lot of the work when it comes to relationships and the real success happens in the follicular phase when people are talking together, when they're really connecting, and when you're enjoying each other's company, and when you're trying to reconcile as well what might have happened over the last week or two. So I think, yeah, yeah, I think that that time is a really important time to connect and to really make something of. And I think when it comes to self-care, the follicular phase is really the time to try and rebuild and get ready for the next luteal phase. So yeah, I think there's lots of different things, and I cover in the book. There's a chapter on self-care where I cover some different things, and I also cover some things that partners found really useful. There's a photograph in there of a partner who'd made himself almost like a little tree. He put some tree pegs in, and he would just get some space. And sometimes that's what's really healthy as well. Is just getting some space, getting some time to be with your own thoughts. But I think one thing I think I'd wish I'd done a little bit more is talk to other people. Now, I think that's difficult, as we talked about earlier, that balance between privacy and that that almost kind of intimate part of the relationship that you don't kind of talk about too much. I think it probably would have found more of an outlet to talk to the people around, and I think that would have helped, and probably would have helped me be a better partner as well, then as well, because I would have felt a bit more supported.
And in terms of that, like the space for talking, where you, when, where, how, what,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't even
Yeah.
know what I'm saying. No, no, the place where you can actually talk to other people. So I would like to ask about the peer support group. Like,
Yeah.
how does it work, and like, did it have an influence on your book? Or tell me a little
Oh
about.
yeah, massively. I mean, I think sometimes people think that the book is just mine and Jude's experience together, but it's not. It's a conflation of our experience. It's the experience of like hundreds of partners that I've talked to. It's also kind of frequenting the support groups through social media as well. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. But the support groups, as I say, started about 4 years ago now, and I, it's just I made a Facebook group, and um, and I just put on, I'm having a Zoom meeting, come along, and I remember, like, I think the first one, like, one person turned up, um, and there has been, I think, in the first like 6 months there was times where, like, I literally turned up and looked at myself on Zoom, and so but it's different now. It's completely different, and we meet every month, and you tend to find that there's probably about three or four who are there every month, and then there's kind of another half that dip in and dip out. It might be every few months or something like that, and then the rest of them are people who perhaps their partner's just been diagnosed, or they've just gotten into a relationship with someone with PMDD. Um, and it's a strange experience, I think, for those who turn up for the first time, because a lot of these people have never been to a support group. They've probably never had the need to go to a support group. Um, but I can tell you, it's a really special experience, and it was a special experience for me when I first spoke to someone who was the partner of someone with PMDD, and I remember coming off the call and just sitting back and just I felt incredibly validated. Um, and it's amazing how similar everyone's experiences are. It's amazing. And I think that's what shocks those who are attending for the first time, just how very similar PMDD can look. Now, I know everyone's different, and I know there's a different lens that the symptoms come through, but there is a lot of consistency with the experiences. You know, so so and for me as well with the support groups, um, I find it a very, very satisfying thing. A very satisfying thing. In my day job, I'm a dentist. I feel like I make a difference in that job. I do
Absolutely.
help people, um, and it's nice when we do some cosmetic work or we've made people healthy or what have you. But I really get a lot of satisfaction from the interaction I have with the partners. And we have parents that are there, that will come occasionally, and there's a real wide spectrum. There's people who've been in the relationship for 20 years. There's people who've been in for like a month. It's both men, it's both women. We're all there, joined with that one kind of view, and that's really to help support our partners and help support ourselves in the process. But yeah, it's a really special thing. And can I just say as well? just how lovely these people are that turn up.
Oh,
I always come
that's
off and I'm like,
so
Jude, you should see these people who are kind of coming to the support group. They are like they are people who love their partners, who are concerned for their health and their well-being, and who put in so much love into the relationship. It's just really, really it restores your faith in humanity to see this. But it can also be quite quite uncomfortable sometimes because there's some really dark moments for those who have PMDD, and as a consequence, some quite dark moments for those who are partners as well. So, it's mixed, um, but I find it very kind of enriching, and you know, it gives me hope for humanity to see people like that come along and make such investments in the ones that they love.
absolutely. Did that inspire you for the name of the book?
I can't remember how it happened. But it just seemed right. It just seemed right. It just seemed the right word. Um, you know, you know. Uh, I think I just generally am, and probably. I feel like I'm naturally a positive person. That I do hope, and I always hope things are going to get better. But I'm also a realist as well. And I know that sometimes there isn't a certainty with PMDD. We don't have a silver bullet for it. We don't have, you know, treatments that just are a simple cure. But I know that we do have hope. We have hope that we've got, you know, researchers. We've got doctors. We've got the wonderful members of the PMDD community who offer their support for people. We've got partners. We've got loved ones. We've got mothers. We've got fathers. We've got brothers. We've got sisters. We've got people like I in PMD people like Sandy McDonald, who have devoted so much of their life and continue to devote so much of their life with so little reward in many respects, to improve this space. And so I think we have good reason to have hope. Um, that's not minimizing the mountain of PMDD that's in front of us and how hard that trek is, but it's knowing that every progress that we make is going to make a difference to someone out there, and it's worth it. It's worth it. There's so much work to be done that I think everyone needs to be involved. Everyone.
This is so inspiring.
No, no. Do you know what? I think it's nice as well, that partners are involved with this, and I think um, often it is overlooked, and often partners, and sometimes male partners, are pictured out to be like Homer Simpson-like characters, caricatures, or that our only job is to just fetch some ice cream on there, when someone's feeling down. But actually, I think that minimizes just how powerful an impact that supportive partners can make, who are informed, who understand PMDD, who understand what the symptom profile is, and understand how they can react in a positive way rather than a very reactive way to some of the symptoms. So I think it's really. I feel like this space is important for everyone to be involved with. No matter who you are, as a professional or as a partner, or as an employer. The PMDD space and understanding it is just absolutely critical.
Absolutely. And Aaron, how was the writing process of the book? Like combining all those experiences, personal, both, and also with the group and the research. How was this process?
Mona, it was absolutely chaotic. It was absolutely. There's no other way I can describe it. Chaotic. Okay, so it started off as a blog post, and I was just going to write a few things. I thought, yeah, I'll write a few things because, as well, often on perhaps some of the message boards or something like that, it would come up, and this would be like, oh look, I need to write something about it. So these subjects would come up, and me and Jude talk a lot, or over the last, especially after she had surgery, um, in 2017, we talk about these different aspects, we a lot, and so it would come up, and I thought, look, I'm just gonna have to write some blog posts. And so I started writing a blog post, and this is during lockdown. because I finally had a little bit of time between, the different commitments I have. There wasn't much time, so I just everyone would sleep in during lockdown, and I'd wake up a little bit early, and I'd just start writing. Um, and I don't think I'm a natural writer at all, but I feel like there's some value in the experience that I've had, and value in kind of some of the reflection from the experience I've had with other partners as well. And so I thought, look, it's worth putting that out there. But the writing process was a little chaotic. I just started writing, and then I'd revisit what I'd written, because there's a lot that got written during the lockdown. But then after that, progress was really slow, which is manifest because it was only released last year. And so the process was quite slow, and kind of I'd look back, and I'd kind of reflect on what was written, and see if it really kind of did represent. And there was some things as well that I think even from when I'd written them, I'd kind of perhaps change the tone or reflect a little bit more on if it really did articulate what I wanted it to mean as well. But it was quite chaotic in that way. So, I would dip in with bits and reframe bits, or there was sometimes, I would have a concept that me and Jude were talking about, and then I'd say, right, well, I need to add that in. And so it developed, I think, over time. I think it developed. But it was quite a nice process in some ways. I mean, towards the end, I was ready to just get it out there, Yeah, just, and it's nice to open a book, but it's also nice to close a book as
Yes.
well. And I think Jude, as well, was kind of ready for that book to kind of just go as well, because it had been sitting there. So, but I found it quite a nice process. I think with any significant experience someone has, it's like your mind is a room that's messed up. There's different things in different places, and with time, you're able to tidy that room up and put it in its right place. And I think the book enabled me to put some things to do with PMDD and to do with our relationship in the right place as well. And I think that takes time to do. I think it takes time. So, you know, but yeah, it's a new experience for me, doing the book. But I did quite enjoy the process. I might do something more in time, if I ever get the time when I retire, something like that. Or there's another global pandemic. So something like that. But yeah, and I'm thankful as well. There's quite a few people who volunteered to kind of read a little bit and provide some feedback, and that was really useful as well. And so there's quite a few. So what I used to do is just as well with the support group. I just used to send people the PDF of whatever stage it was, and they would sometimes provide some feedback as well. So that was really nice.
Wonderful. And how was the book reception after the launch?
Um,
Like any feedbacks, stories?
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think. I think I knew when I was writing it that I think what was probably going to happen for the most part is that those with PMDD were going to be probably buying it for their partners. I kind of felt that that was the route that
Hmm.
might take. And it's hard because I don't really have any empirical data on that. There's no kind of capacity for a marketing survey of who's buying it. But anecdotally, it seems well received by both partners and by those who have PMDD. And I've been quite moved actually sometimes. I normally get like an email maybe every couple of weeks or so, 2 3 weeks, and it's just a nice email, and it's lovely to read, and I find it quite moving, as I say, to know that actually that it was worth it. It was worth writing some of these things down, and people have been very kind, and uh, you know, I'm like a little kid, and when I see, you know, when when I see that it's helped people, I do get quite excited there, you know. But I do marvel a bit as well. And um, uh, it's a strange experience, kind of, you know, when you just see the numbers of people buying it, and you don't know these people, you know, and and I find that a strange experience. That actually, you know, I'll get an email and people be talking about things, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, actually, that is in the book. Uh, so, but yeah, it's been really, you know, I've been bowled over actually with how kind people have been on there, and you know, I'm sure there will be some negative feedback that comes with time, and you know, I really hope that you know, it may be that we can improve things with further additions and add things that people might like to see as well. So it would be nice to think that we could do that. But yeah, I've felt really supported by the whole PMDD community. People have been really kind, and so it's been a good experience. Been a good experience.
Beautiful. And you're also a dentist. Like, do you have like any moments where like someone comes into your office and you go look at their teeth and say, "No, there's nothing wrong here. No, I'm not doing here anything related to my teeth. I just want to talk about PMDD. Like, I'm here to talk about PMDD."
Well, I have had a couple of phone calls to the practice and said I want to talk with Aaron about PMDD. Um, so, and my, you know, my receptionist, you know, slightly confused, but you know, I work in a practice where you know there's one other male, and everyone else is female, and you know, there's conversations that take place regularly about you know about women's health and about PMDD, and you know, occasionally I did have a patient, you know. And sometimes it comes up in conversations. You know, it just comes up in conversations. And it was actually kind of through a patient that I met Sophie. So I do a little bit of research with a neuroscientist at Durham University called Sophie, who is absolutely amazing. And it was a patient who was in the psychology of department at Durham University and suggested we connect up. And you know, so it's strange how things combine. But Sophie's been great, and we've got a paper that will hopefully be published soon on the kind of it's looking at the experience of those, the quality of life of those who have PMDD and also their partners as well. So it's kind of a joint study. So hopefully that'll be published soon, and there's a couple of others that we've looking at as well. So, but yeah, dentistry, PMDD, confusing social media profile, but I love it. You know, I love it. And I'm, you know, yeah. So yeah, but for the most part, you know, the 9 to 5 is mostly about teeth. Right.
Okay. And um, my last question would be if you know like how to define who are you before this journey and who are you after? Like as a person, as a dad, as a husband, as a writer.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's difficult because I think, you know, I think we've always got to be kind to ourselves with who we were before we learned certain things. And I think everyone, all of us are on a journey, no matter what we're doing. But I think my personal journey, I think just being with Jude, even without PMDD, has made me a better person. I think she's the most wonderful person. I think she's inspiring. She's an example. She is just she's really special, and I think that's really important to point out just on its own without PMDD. But I think because of the PMDD, I think it's certainly enlarged the empathy I have. It's certainly kind of made me understand that there's a whole section of the world that struggle not just with PMDD, but with other disabilities or with other health conditions or mental health conditions that are incredibly brave and who life is so much more difficult for them. And I think without the experience of being exposed to that, I wouldn't have known that. And I think I would have been shortchanged in life if I really didn't understand what some people are going through. And I think it's made me more compassionate. It's made me more empathetic. It's made me more understanding, and it's improved me being a clinician, a dentist. And I think and now instead of kind of taking my own prejudices, and look, everyone makes mistakes, and I'm still an idiot, most of the time. Um, but I think instead of kind of just automatically projecting my own experience onto someone, I really listen to them. I hope so, and really
Mhm.
kind of try to understand where they're at. And I think that's a basic fundamental aspect of medicine, is because if you haven't got the right diagnosis, if you haven't asked the right question, then you're going to give the wrong treatment. And that's not going to help anyone, the clinician or the patient. And I think that's how it is in human interactions, isn't it? That we need to know where people are exactly at, and that there's no point pretending or kind of anything else. And if we know where people are at, we can help them properly. Um, and there's nothing worse than talking to someone where you feel like you're not actually talking to them. They're just saying what you want them, what they feel that they should say. So I think the experience that I've had has been hard. It's been incredibly hard, and I think that's really important for people to understand. That those who have PMDD, it's so difficult for them. It's so difficult for them, but it's so difficult for partners as well. And so the whole experience has been incredibly difficult, and I understand why relationships end with PMDD, and how difficult it can be. And I'd never judge anyone, for coming to a different conclusion of how things look. And it worked out for me and Jude. But I must say that although it's been hard, it's almost like a treasured possession in some ways because of what it's added to my experience in life and understanding. And as I say, I think feel shortchanged in life if I hadn't have understood some of those things. I
This is
think
so
that's
beautiful.
no, no, but I, you know, things are hard, but and there's so many aspects of life that are hard, but I feel like there is, and that's the hope, I guess. Maybe that's the hope. Maybe I didn't know why the title was, but I think there are things, and I think me and Jude are stronger in a relationship together because of having to deal with this. You know, a relationship with PMDD is really high stakes, and it really tunes in those kind of how to work together, how to deal with a crisis, how to understand each other and talk to one another, and what we do that aren't helpful to the situation. So I kind of feel like there's a deeper understanding and intimacy that's there if it wasn't for PMDD. There's nothing that unites someone like a common enemy, is there? So and PMDD is the common enemy. So
Yeah. I don't know. I feel very emotional hearing you because you haven't used that word, and I didn't as well, like the word love, but what I see
Mhm.
there, it's a lot of love, like, and I think like without it, it's very hard uh, to be in a situation like that, like either as a partner, a caregiver, like everyone around gotta love each other a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think you have, but sometimes it's not just love is enough. You know, uh, you know. Sometimes sometimes it's treatment. Sometimes it's kind of relationship counseling. Sometimes it's sometimes it's medications. There's all sorts of things, and I think love is a great starting point. And love at the end is the currency that brings it all together. Um, but I think there's a lot that goes in. There's a lot that goes in, and love's a key ingredient, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's important you say that because we cannot forget that this is a medical condition and it
mhm.
requires a medical approach,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Another point I'd like to make as well is that often, you know, um, and I think I've made this mistake that trying to psychologize my way out of PMDD, you know. Early on in the relationship, I just thought, look, maybe it's me. Maybe I am the cause of
Mm-hmm.
PMDD. And so I behaved like a spotless lamb. You know, I was like, I just said, I'm going to perfect myself.
Yeah.
You know, so can I be entirely blameless with this? And did it help? Maybe a little, but PMDD is still going to be there, no matter, you know, how someone behaves. Sure, we can definitely, as partners, kind of reduce the load by being less reactive and being a supportive partner. I'm not negating that, but PMDD is not caused by a partner. It's caused by some really kind of complex interactions that take place between neurotransmitters and hormones and so and I think that's really useful for partners to recognize that you know they can't just behave their way out of PMDD and they can't psychologize and certainly in the really most difficult parts you can't rationalize or argue your way out of PMDD. That there's got to be a different approach. You can't logic your way out of it. You know, and and I think that's really important. That how much difference medical treatment. I think the partners that seem to kind of have the most difficult time are those partners who either don't recognize they've got PMDD. That's the most kind of destructive, and then the second are who aren't engaging with proper medical treatment. You know, that's the two things that observations that I've seen over the years that seem to be fundamental to the success. It's about engagement with the diagnosis and engagement with treatment.
Yeah. Is there something that I didn't ask that you would like to talk about, to share any thoughts, any feelings, any words that you would like to share with your readers? Anything. The mic is yours.
No, thanks for buying the book. Thanks for buying the book. You know, thanks for supporting it. The proceeds go to IAPMD, who do a great work. So I'm just going to plug IAPMD because, you know, as I said, there's so much information out there, but I really value IAPMD as a source of good kind of evidence-based, considered a message. And I think I've taken enough of your time, Mona. You've probably heard enough of me talking. So you know, I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to talk about this, and I'm thankful for Bell Health as well for extending that invitation. And you know, I'm just really grateful for all the work that happens in the PMDD space, and really the kind of attitude that Bell Health has towards the technology that they're putting out there as well. I think it's really critical, and that's what impressed me as well. When I first came into contact with you guys. So I'm going to plug IMPMD and I'm going to plug Bell Health as well.
Wonderful. I'm so happy that we had this conversation, especially today because, well, I have some big news to share. So
Right.
first of all, yes, first of all, I just want to remind everyone that is watching, hearing us, whatever you are, as you can feel by now, like you don't have to face this alone anymore. We are here to help. We have Aaron's book. We have the Bell app. We have been putting our minds and hearts to develop this app to help you track and manage your symptoms with science-based tools to spot your hormone-related symptoms and to explore resources to advocate for your health. But we have more. So based on our community requests and Aaron's suggestions, now we are finally launching the Share with Partner feature.
Yes. Yes. This is great
Yes,
news, Mona. Great
yes,
news. This is
yes.
good.
I almost said at the beginning, I was like, no, I have to send it, to save it for The
This is
final
not a
part.
fake surprise from me as well. I didn't know this. I genuinely didn't know this. This is great news, though. This is so needed. It's going to be so much better than just my Google Calendar. That's really great. Well, I'm dead excited. Really excited for that. I must say that you guys brilliant because I spoke to you a while back. I say a while back, it wasn't that long ago, about some of these features. I mean, that's incredible. That's really great, and I think it's lovely that there's that responsiveness within the community. That when suggestions come through, and I know it as well. I've seen some of the suggestions around that through different through some of the other partners as well. So that's really exciting. It's really good. Brilliant,
We're super
brilliant.
excited about it. And well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for pushing us forward and yeah, to help us bring in this live.
All good. I'm glad. I'm just so glad to see that happen. So it's exciting for sure, for sure. Great. I'm going to go and
Wonderful.
make sure that I'm going to get on there and have a little look at the features and what have you. So I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Wonderful. Aaron, thank you so much once again. This was amazing. I thank you for being with us, for your work, your book, the amazing work that you're doing for this community. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Mona.
And thanks to you for watching us today. I hope you are living this conversation, feeling more empowered to rewrite your story with PMDD. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, share with anyone else who might also benefit. Take care, big hug, and bye.
Bye bye.